340 Paddler, blah, blah.
Hello, welcome back to 340 Paddler, and today, this is June 21st of 2021. We are 4 weeks to the 2021 MR340, and what can you look forward to? Because, of course, it's getting closer. So, what are we looking at when we're looking at this race this year? Now, I should point out there's been a great deal of variation over the years. The last few years, we've been very spoiled with high water and low temperatures, a combination that we don't always get. Let me remind everyone of 2012, when we had triple-digit temperatures every day and incredibly low water. So, what do you have to look forward to as we move into the 340? Let's start with some reports from the river. By the way, this is not the current report. That's from 2017. I should point out that I told you when this is recorded, because if you're watching in 2025, please tell me how the world ended. So, thanks to a member of our race community, Doug Robnett, he has put together an incredible amount of information. This is available on the River Miles forums under historical data for the MR340, I think 2006 through 2019, give or take. And this is one of the slides that he has showing the river level every year. You will see that some years we get absolutely spoiled. 2015, fantastic year. There were 23 men's solos who broke 50 hours because the river was moving incredibly fast. But then you look down the line and you'll notice 2012 way down there, and 2006 and 2013. Those were low years. Those were rough years where we had really low water. We're talking the pack averaging somewhere around 6 miles an hour. Even the fastest paddlers were having a hard time holding anywhere around 8. So very, very low water. And you can see where those numbers fall. 2019 and 2015 were about the highest the river can be for the race to happen. So we've been lucky. So what are we looking at? Well, this is the current gauge at Jefferson City. You will see that it is rising, but of course, that's a pretty quick peak. We'll probably come back down depending on how much rain we get. We aren't getting a lot of runoff out of the Dakotas, so you can expect that outside of a rain event, we will probably be fairly low, and probably multiple rain events to have a huge impact on the river. Because you see that spike, it's just there for a couple of days, and it's going to drop off again as it has been. We also have Pat McCarthy, who is kind enough to file this report with 340 Paddler unintentionally via Facebook. He doesn't actually know I used it, but that's okay because Pat McCarthy is A, a great paddler, and B, a great supporter of my daughter's Girl Scout troop. So he talks about yesterday, June 20th, 2021, making this trip from Jeff City to Herman down the river. Now, Pat is a very fast paddler. He is in a Riverhawk. He is capable of moving very, very quickly. And you'll notice that one of his first lines, he says, I went from low to mid 8s before hitting the Osage, the first 12 miles roughly from Jeff City out to the Osage River. It could be wrong. It could be 17. My numbers might be off. With exposed wing dikes. And then after he hits the Osage, he pops up into the low 9s. Now, the reason I point that out is if one of the faster racers is holding low to mid 8s when he's fresh, not halfway through the race, that means we can reasonably expect that that same piece of river would reasonably hold a mid-pack paddler in the 6s, probably low 6 range. So if you're planning speeds, that's probably what you're looking at. Now, when he says the river speeds up at the Osage and the Gasconade, they had just had rain. Those rivers pop up a little bit faster than the Missouri, so you get a bigger pulse out of them. I would probably not count on that big of a pop off the Osage. And it might happen at the Osage. There's a lot of outflow. The Gasconade, I'd say probably not going to see that kind of, on an average year, you're not going to see that kind of pop. He also mentions a lot of wing dikes being available, a lot of buoys, and this is going to be very important because for years we haven't had a lot of buoys out there. 2012 we had a ton, but after that we haven't because we've had flood events right before or issues where the buoys got moved. Now look at the number, 40 to 50 between Jeff City and Herman. That's a huge number of buoys. That is the reason we do not go out in the river when it is foggy. Well, one of them. So, what can you do to prepare? I would recommend signing up for this weekend's Missouri Freedom Race. Now, the Freedom Race takes place every year about 3 weeks before 340. 2021 is no different. It will be happening here this coming weekend, I believe roughly June 26th, although I don't have a calendar in front of me. It is June 26th, there you go. I just have to have faith in my slides, apparently. So it's a 63-mile race, starts at 9 a.m., always fantastic food at the end, great awards. Carl Mitchell is building the awards as we speak. Beautiful custom paddles with resin and color, and it's fantastic. So highly recommended. For those of you who aren't trying to be competitive, you're just trying to finish the race, this is incredibly useful because it shows you the midpoint of the race. And it's a great final, really long run to test out all your outfitting, your seat, your clothes, your food, your nutrition, everything. It's a great dress rehearsal. For those of you who are trying to be more competitive, it gives you an idea of the speed of the river and helps you kind of see where your competition sits right now. This is going to be a strange year because we've had a long time to train. We have had a very warm spring. And we may have river conditions, low water, hot temperatures that we haven't seen in a long time. And it gives you a chance to see what's actually out there on the river, such as the sand dredges, the barges, the curves. It gives you an idea of river navigation before you actually get out there for the 340. So I highly recommend it. It's $75 or so, but is very well spent, and they always have some really cool swag to go with it. So in terms of training and preparation, what can you do at this point? Let's assume that you have been training on a regular basis. Awesome. Keep training. Basically, stick with your program. Don't change anything. If you find a weakness, you can adjust a little bit. Hey, my triceps were unusually weak. Maybe I can do a little extra over the next couple of weeks to help them out. But apart from that sort of thing, you're not going to want to change much. You're probably going to put yourself in a hole if you change too many things. If you haven't trained, and by the way, Brian Hopkins has definitely started training. It just happens that he's the prettiest face I can think of when I went looking for pictures for this slide. So if you haven't trained or you've done very minimal training, your focus right now should be on two things: outfitting and mental grit. Basically, get out in your boat, and on each of the weekends, the 3 weekends leading up to the race, 3, maybe 4, go out for a progressively longer paddle. You don't really need to go longer than maybe 6 or 7 hours. That would be your top end. Some people would argue and say you want to go further, but 6 or 7 hours is probably your top end. And you want to work up to that. And what you're looking for is not your fitness, but rather what's sore, what hurts that maybe you can work on a little bit. Making sure that you don't have an injury that's going to come back and haunt you. Making sure that your seat is going to be comfortable. Your back, everyone forgets about this. Your back needs to be comfortable. So if you need a back brace, this is the time to find out so that you can put it in the boat before the race. This is the time to find out if your PFD is going to cause nipple chafing, which you laugh because I said the word nipple, but it's a real thing and it's problematic. It's a great time to find out if your shirt is going to cause problems or your nutrition or your hydration and set all those systems up. And it's the time to do your final outfitting. So you don't want to change anything in outfitting, just like with nutrition or training. You don't want to change anything in outfitting without testing it. And by testing it, I mean some long trips, 4 hours plus in that seat. So you know that you're going to be comfortable for at least the first day or so into the race. And here we see a common seat. This is actually Joe Mann's Riverhawk from 2018, I want to say. And what he has there is a camping pad, like a Thermarest type camping pad. Underneath it, it's a little hard to see, but it's about a 1/2 inch thick yoga mat that you can buy usually for $20. They're black usually. You can buy them for like $20 over at some of these discount stores, TJ Maxx, etc. will have them. And he's just got that cut in the form of a seat, and then he's got the same thing as a back to his seat, so that he's got some back support, some comfort. It's not going to be incredibly comfortable. You will hurt by the end of the race, but it helps. If you happen to be bony like me, you need to cut out sit bone holes. So holes where your sit bones, those two prominent bones in your butt, are going to push down, and maybe a spot for your tailbone, which Joe has cut out in the back there. Because sometimes when you get tired, you will rotate down in the seat and you will put compression on your tailbone, whereas when you're sitting up properly, the tailbone should not be holding any weight. So these are things that you want to think about as we move forward. That seat is going to be the most important thing during the race. If you are uncomfortable sitting in your boat, you won't want to be in your boat, which means you will spend more time on shore and have a longer race. Now, yes, you're getting your $250 worth, but at the same time, don't you want to finish? Don't you want a beer at the end? The other thing you can do is watch the videos. Get all the information you can. I cover a lot in these videos, and I understand that. But the whole purpose of them is so that you're not surprised by things going into the race. Some of them haven't applied in years past because we haven't had to worry about hyponatremia. We haven't had to worry about dehydration because the temperatures are down. Or we haven't had to worry about what do you do in low water conditions and handling the wing dikes and what things look like. Because when we're flooded, when the water's up over the wing dikes, you can paddle over a wing dike, it doesn't matter. But when the water's low, that's going to be A, incredibly difficult, and B, a big problem. And take it from someone who's hit numerous wing dikes in 2012. It doesn't help you, your sanity, or your boat. At the end of the day, I just want a situation where you have a relaxed, calm 340. No, mind you, I didn't say good or happy. These words are not always part of your 340 vocabulary, but I'm trying to get you there in one piece. Hopefully rested and peaceful. That being said, I will do at least one more update as we move forward. And let me remind you that in 2017, I did these updates, said it's going to be hot and it's going to be low, and it turned out the opposite. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm just working with the material that I have as of June 21st, 2021. Otherwise, until you get to the 340 to Caw Point, keep your paddle in the water.